I'll show you how to make this dress from start to finish. What you will need: a sewing machine, measuring tape, fabric pen or chalk, scissors, sewing clips or pins, and an iron. For the material, any type of light flowy fabric will do. The amount of fabric you'll need is going to depend on your body measurements. I have here around 1.5 meters of fabric off the roll, matching thread, and elastic thread. The dress is made up of just 4 panels, the top panel and the bottom panel times 2. Let's start with the top panel. The length of your top panel will be the measurement from your upper bust to just around 3 inches below your belly button. This was 13 inches for me. The width of the top will be your waist circumference measurement. To get this, wrap the tape around your waist. This pattern is very forgiving, so you don't have to be super duper accurate with these measurements. Once you have these 2 measurements, add in 1/2 inch of seam allowance all the way around. And you'll need to cut out 2 of these pieces. For the bottom panel, the length will be the measurement from your belly button to how far down you want the skirt to go. This is up to you. I'm going with 14 inches. This will give me a mini dress. The width of this bottom panel should match the waist circumference we measured earlier. So mine was 28 inches. We will also add in 1/2 inch of seam allowance all the way around. And just like we did with the top panel, cut 2 of these pieces. Next, we're going to cut out that dip we see in the dress. Fold each bottom panels in half. Stack them together and measure 3 inches down from the fold on both pieces. It doesn't matter which end. Draw a line from this point to the opposite corner. Cut along this line to remove the excess fabric for both the bottom panels. Now before we sew everything together, let's do some zigzag stitching so the edges don't fray. If you have an overlocker, you can use this. I'm just using a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine. For the top panel pieces, zigzag stitch one of the long sides and both the short sides on each piece. For the 2 bottom panels, zigzag stitch along the dipped edge we just created and both the short sides. Before the fabric is gathered, we're going to hem the top panels. Take the edge that has not been zigzag stitched. Create a 1/2 inch fold. If your fabric has a wrong side, they should be touching. Then fold in that same fold to create a mini fold. Do this for both top panel pieces. And sew a straight stitch along that folded edge. Now for the fun part, kind of. Let's shirr the 2 top panels. If you don't know what this is, shirring is a sewing technique where the bobbin is replaced with elastic thread to create a gathered effect when you're sewing. Let me show you how to set this up. Grab your elastic thread and bobbin. This is very important. You want to hand wind the elastic thread to the bobbin. Don't use a sewing machine because the elastic will stretch. Once done, we're going to place the bobbin inside the sewing machine exactly how you would normally do. And that's it. Before I begin, I'm showing you my machine settings for shirring. The stitch length is about 3 to 4 millimeters and my tension is about 5. I've played around with this, so I highly recommend practicing your shirring on a test piece of fabric first to see how your machine handles it. In order to create this effect, all you'll be doing is sewing rows of stitches about ½ inch apart. So, if it's easier for you, you can now grab a fabric pen and draw parallel lines to follow along to. I've done this so many times, so I'm comfortable with using my presser foot as a guide for spacing the next row of stitches. You also shouldn't start right at the edge, start about ½ inch away from the edge. Once you create your first line, stop about ½ inch away from that edge on the opposite side. I'm counting about 4 stitches down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then pivot and keep going until you reach the other side. This will take a lot of time, so good luck. Do this for both the top panel pieces. Also, I treat my elastic thread like my normal thread, so backstitching at the beginning, and if I'm running low, backstitching to lock it in. Once you're done, you should have these 2 beautiful pieces. Give them a really good press. We're going to create the dip on the top panel, so fold the top panels in half and grab your measuring tape. Measure down 3 inches from the unfinished edge where you haven't hemmed. Draw a line from there to the top of the folded edge on the opposite side and cut this out for both pieces. And don't freak out about cutting into the shirring. If you've done everything right, it's not going to unravel. Unless of course you are really stretching everything out, so please be careful at this point. Now grab one of the bottom panels. On the edge where the dip is, connect the midpoint of the bottom panel to the midpoint of the top panel. Right sides of the fabric should be facing. Go to your sewing machine, so you're starting to stitch from that midpoint. Make sure the needle is ½ inch from the edge and begin to sew a straight stitch. As you are sewing, you'll need to gently pull on the shirring so it starts to match the length of the bottom panel all the way to the end, because remember, the top panel and the bottom panel are identical in terms of the width measurement. The only difference is the top panel is now gathered, but the width is still the same. I hope that makes sense. Do the other side, starting again from the middle. And once you're done, I'm just going to go over it again with another stitch. This will lock the shirring elastic as well, and maybe also relax you if you're really worried about it breaking. Do the exact same on the other top and bottom panels. Now you should have 2 of these pieces. With the right sides of the fabric facing each other, connect the matching edges from the top to the bottom and sew a straight stitch with about ½ inch of seam allowance. Nearly there. We're going to hem the bottom exactly how we hemmed the top. Fold the fabric in by 1/2 inch. And fold it in again for a mini fold, and sew a straight stitch along that entire bottom edge. And you are done. Thank you for watching. If I haven't convinced you to make this, I hope I get you next time. Thank you.